What do we want? More transparency when it comes to games. When do we want it? Sometime hopefully soon. Memes aside, it's a given that developers aren't always 100% honest about what their games will look like. Whether it's visual downgrades made to properly accommodate the huge visions in mind or plain old lies. There have been plenty of times where games have shamelessly lied to their fans. Please note this list isn't about the quality of these games, so keeping that in mind, let's move ahead. No Man's Sky. Aside from the promise at one point of multiplayer, which was subsequently downplayed and never in the final game, Hello Games and Sean Murray blew many aspects a little too out of proportion. What we got were fairly shallow elements of a space survival exploration game instead of an epic experience. Also, something significant in the middle of the galaxy? Yeah, nope. Watch Dogs. It would be one thing if Ubisoft showed us some great-looking visuals for Watch Dogs and then downgraded them not once, but twice. It's quite another that the original graphics showcased at E3, which ended up looking better than the final product, were included in the files but never used. Either way, even gameplay-wise, Watch Dogs didn't feel like a wannabe hacker's power fantasy at all. Destiny. Where do we even start? First, Bungie misled players by promising a compelling single-player experience at launch. Forget how bad the base game's ending was, many of the best activities like nightfalls and raids were closed off to solo players. Matchmaking still isn't present for the same. Then there's the lack of certain areas like Saturn that never made it into the base game, but later arrived in the Taken King. Don't even get us started on skill-based matchmaking. Aliens Colonial Marines. If there was ever a more convoluted development saga than Destiny, it would be Aliens Colonial Marines. Rebooted numerous times, the final version of the game looked significantly different from the many demos used to promote it. In fact, the earlier demos looked a lot better by comparison. It also didn't help that Gearbox wasn't necessarily even working on the title, having outsourced much of the development to Timegate Studios, Demiurge Studios, and Nerve Software. Killzone 2. Guerrilla Games' Killzone 2 was a fairly well-done FPS when it arrived for the PS3 in 2009. However, when it first began life, things were a little misleading. You see, the E3 2005 trailer originally used to promote the game was touted as being real-time. Except it wasn't, and it came out to be pre-rendered. Fable. Peter Molyneux exaggerating his game? What a surprise. Fable was perhaps one of his most infamous instances of Molyneux blowing things way out of proportion. Features like multiplayer through Xbox Live, marriage, having kids, and then there's the whole constantly evolving world which could allow you to plant an acorn that would become a giant tree later. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the last time Molyneux made big claims and constantly failed to deliver on them. The WarZ, also known Infestation Survivor Series. Want a premier lesson in screwing over your fan base and lying to their faces? Look no further than the WarZ. Launching quickly to usurp some of the support for DayZ, the WarZ was missing several features touted on its Steam page from launch. The developer not only said players misread the page, but banned anyone who complained about the same on the Steam forums. Hilariously though, the game was pulled from Steam following all of this nonsense, which led to it re-emerging as Infestation Survivor Stories, and eventually Infestation The New Z. Final Fantasy XV. Final Fantasy XV is a very bizarre case. Many assets and elements created for the game felt like they were completely reworked, like the Leviathan battle. However, some aspects that were hyped in the E3 2013 trailer, scenes between Noctis and his father, Noctis' formal car ride, and what seemed to be a battle in Lucius, never made it. CG from the Omen trailer varied from resembling final gameplay sequences to explaining about Noctis being the Destroyer. It's rather sad that the scenes from Kingsglaive formed the only consistent narrative throughout the entire game. Tom Clancy's The Division. Tom Clancy's The Division has been a long journey of ups, downs, loop-de-loops, and straight plummets. It started with the graphics downgrade, and to be fair, Ubisoft Massive still managed a pretty good-looking game at launch. However, We then had an in-game that was pretty much non-existent at launch, and DLC that only emerged later as not including new story content. Oh, and there's the G36C, a popular weapon which received more than its fair share of hidden nerfs. World of Warcraft. For a company that does so much right for its fans, Blizzard Entertainment can also be their worst enemy. Nostalrius was a set of servers run by fans for Legacy World of Warcraft after the developer denied requests for official servers. It shut down following a cease and desist order, but Blizzard promised to meet with the Nostalrius crew to work something out. They did, but nothing came of it, leading to Nostalrius emerging again. Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV had its share of problems before launch. Square Enix admitted to the same, but didn't outline how friggin' awful the game was. In fact, at one point, Square Enix said that Final Fantasy XIV was being planned as a rival to World of Warcraft. A Realm Reborn fixed many issues with the base game, but we would have appreciated knowing some of the bigger issues out of the gate. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Rockstar is usually the kind of don't give a damn company when it comes to controversies, but even it fumbled with the whole hot coffee mod debacle that hit Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. The developer denied that hot coffee was actually in the game, claiming it to be hackers performing significant technical modifications to and reversing engineering code. Unfortunately, it was discovered to be part of the original release, which could be unlocked with the right tools. One class action lawsuit, product recalls, and ratings changes later eventually caused hot coffee to be removed. Halo 2. The infamous Smoke and Mirrors demo. Not only did this E3 demo not showcase real-time gameplay, but it misled gamers by stating that this would be the first level of Halo 2. Suffice it to say, it wasn't, and the final game looked nothing like this impressive demo. The Earth level ended up being much more open-ended and a lot less epic by comparison. Action 52. Let's go old school for a bit. Action 52 is perhaps one of the worst games of all time, having released in 1991 for the NES and comprising of 52 different games. However, its developer Active Enterprises straight up lied to its players by holding a competition for anyone who could complete Ooze's 8th level. Those who did would be eligible for $104,000, but since the game crashed on level 2, it was impossible for anyone to actually participate. Incompetence or intentional deceit? You decide. Battlefield 3. During Sony's E3 2011 conference, EA promised that Battlefield 3 players on the PS3 would receive Battlefield 1943 for free. Volition made a similar promise with Saints Row the Third, and when it couldn't fulfill the bonuses, it provided Saints Row 2 instead. However, EA said nothing on the matter and eventually faced a class action lawsuit until it finally provided Battlefield 1943 for free. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.